being 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bospis,
Here.
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Talentino,
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
Okay, we're all here. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you very much. I would ask those with cell phones if you would please put them on vibrate or silence them. We would appreciate it. Thank you. Also at this time, I'd like to have a moment of silence for former Commissioner, Lake State Professor James Moody, who passed away this past week. He had nearly 10 years on the commission back in the 70s and 80s. Thank you very much. Item number 1 is a swearing in of Commissioner Shane Miller. Shane, welcome. If you'd like to go over by the podium, I think it is.
I'll have you raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of City Commissioner in and for the City of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan.
I do.
Congratulations.
Okay, item number 2, public comment on scheduled agenda items. Any person may reserve time on an agenda item to speak, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone in the audience like to speak on an agenda item? Yes, sir. For your consent agenda number 3? Oh, C3. Oh, D3, okay. That is a consent item, and it's probably going to come off the consent agenda, so at that time, we'll give you a chance. If you'd like to give us your name for the record, we'd appreciate it, Ken. Okay, thanks. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Assistant or Deputy City Clerk, consent agenda.
Item 3, consent agenda A, minute approval. 1, approval of the minutes of the regular City Commission meeting of December 4th, 2017, and the special City Commission meeting of December 11th, 2017. Recommended action is to approve the minutes of the regular City Commission meeting of December 4th and the special City Commission meeting of December 11th. Item 2, acceptance of the minutes of the following boards and commissions. A, Airport Advisory Board of November 9th. B, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority of October 17th. C, Economic Development Corporation of November 14th. D, Historical Development Commission of December 12th. E, Local Officers Compensation Commission of December 5th. F, Police and Fire Pension Board of November 1st. And G, Zoning Board of Appeals of November 16th. Recommended action is to accept the minutes of the various boards and commissions. Item B, appointments and resignations. 1, appointment to the Superior District Library Board. Recommended action is to appoint Christine Roll to the District Library Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Item C, communications. 1, from Chippewa County, county tax foreclosures. Recommended action is to authorize city administration to issue an objection to the Chippewa County Treasurer as presented. Item 2 under communications is from Malcolm Park Pride Committee. Letter to City Commission providing support for the closing of 8th Avenue from Meridian Street east to to the first residence. Recommended action is direct this matter back to city administration for further review. Item D, city manager's report. 1, scheduling a public hearing to confirm special assessment roll ST-03-17, West 4th Avenue reconstruction. Recommended action is to schedule a public hearing to confirm the special assessment roll for 7 p.m. on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018 for the West 4th Avenue, Ashman Street to Hyde Street, project number ST-03-17. Item 2 under City Manager's report is to add the title of HIPAA Compliance Officer to the Fire Chief's job description. Recommended action is to approve the addition of HIPAA Compliance Officer to the Fire Chief's job description with the included paperwork to be attached to any necessary HIPAA documentation as appropriate. And item 3 under City Manager's report is authorize a budget amendment to reallocate funds supported by Malcolm Park Pride Committee. Recommended action is to amend the referenced allocation of $13,500 for the purposes as presented and authorize city administration to approve expenditures for the balance of the appropriation.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Twardy.
Thank you. I wanted to see if we could remove D3 from the consent agenda just for a short conversation.
Okay, and that will be our first item on the agenda to follow the consent agenda. Commissioner
That
Twardy.
being said, I
Yes.
would like to move that we approve the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Mayor Bospas?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. In the first order of business?
As requested by the commission, item D3, authorize a budget amendment to reallocate funds supported by Malcolm Park Pride Committee.
Okay, thank you. City manager, would you like to go and explain what's going on here, and then we can have Mr. LaJoy come up, and then Commissioner Twardy.
Certainly, Mayor. On this matter, I've requested that Parks and Recreation Director Dan Wires present to the City Commission and provide an update.
Okay.
Good evening.
Evening. Evening, Dan.
On this item, this is an item that was worked through our city budgeting process this last fiscal year, the 2017-2018 budget, and it was a line item for improvement that once we got into looking at this improvement, it was one of these items. I turned my mic on. I think it was not on here. So it was one of the improvements that we found that there was, once we started getting some collective ideas from the Malcolm Park Pride folks, that this was money that we would like to take a look at reallocating. And it was something that it kind of was going through the system, came to the Community Service Board about trying to get some dollars to do some things for the Malcolm Park. And so this actually kind of evolved into a line item that was looked at as being better spent on multiple things that were going to help all the users at Malcolm Park. So we took this amount of money, took a look at talking to some of the folks, Ken LaJoy and also Kevin Pomeroy on this. And so it was right around the time that we hired 2 part-time individuals to work at Malcolm Park as well. So a lot of things started to come to light. So this is where this actually came from. So it's really reallocating the $13,500 into items that are going to help all the different users there and utilize in different fields. At this point in time, we're looking at, as the memo states, I think we're roughly, of the $13,500, we're looking at I'm trying to look at the number here, the purchase of diamond dust product of $1,780, the fertilizing the outfields of $586, and then some turfus material. And some of these, diamond dust is kind of a general name for infield dressing. Turfus is more specific to a specific kind of infield dressing. And so these are some of the things that the committee's looking at going forward. So this is where this has come to you for that determination to help reallocate those into some much used pieces. If this was to be completed, also there's $6,594 that would still be out there that still can be used in this year's budget. Most likely something that we'd be looking at this spring and summer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I guess the biggest concern that I had is because I am the liaison to the Community Services Board, I don't remember seeing this come through the Community Services Board. And the thing that keeps us transparent as a city is that we have a process. And the process is that things go through committee, then they go to the city manager's office, and then they come to the city commission. And I don't remember seeing this come through the Community Services Board.
Commissioner, that's a good question. And some things, a lot of things do come through the Community Service Board. Some things don't, depending on what this is. And since it was something that was approved by the commission, kind of went that way. Either way, it, I think is fine. I know that going forward, the Malcolm Park Pride, for instance, the 6-year capital improvement projects or a potential line item budget request, that is all going to go through the Community Services Board. This item can too as well. But since it was one of those items that was already approved by the commission, and it's just something we're reallocating at the same place, and it was just one of those items that sometimes they come right directly to the commission. That's why it did come. So there was no intent of whether it went to the Community Services Board or not. So it certainly could be redirected there if the commission would like.
Well, I don't think so. I think mostly, because I did talk to the manager today, and I know that Ken sits on Community Services Board. Yep. I think it's really just important for us to make sure that we're sticking to the process, because even though I appreciate Malcolm Pride and everything that they're doing, they're not in an official capacity to manage their own budget. So we need to make sure that things are moving in the appropriate manner, and that if there is a change in any budgetary processes, that they still go through the appropriate manner before they get to the commission's desk. That was my concern.
Mr. LaJoy, you'd like to speak? I guess the question I have, the turf dust, or it's benefiting, it's going to benefit all the fields, and
Yes.
it is safe. It does make the fields, if you'd like to pull the microphone, just it'll make the fields safer for everyone?
Yes, it will.
Okay, okay. And what did you,
Well, I'd like to say first that Malcolm Park Pride Committee is looking to the future. Our mission is to inform the public and the city officials to the economic importance of Malcolm Park. And I think that sometimes that, because it's kind of off the beaten path, that sometimes that the community doesn't realize how used that is and the economic impact. The reallocation of the turf, in my opinion, is so important because the user groups have been using their own funds, and we've been taking money out of our own pockets and time out of our own schedules to apply this. This product needs to be on the fields because Little League hosted 2 district tournaments. There was 12 state tournaments for Little League this year, and Sault Ste. Marie hosted the 11-year-old softball tournament. Linda, with the Legacies, they had a 32-team tournament in late July, excuse me. Legion, every 3 years we host the state tournament for American Legion. There's a new group of baseball players. It's a travel ball team. They're bringing teams in. Just the economic impact alone, we started putting a sheet together, and we believe that we're probably bringing in close to $750,000 into this community by hosting these tournaments. And we have one bad field or one bad experience, and these people that come to this city to play these tournaments are going to quit coming. I know that when the state came for Little League, that we took them on a Sulaks boat tour, and then we fed them down at Little Italy there. We took them down to the CC Hall and gave them a great meal, and many said they'd return for the spaghetti and meatballs. Well, we'll see if that happens. But I do believe that, the future of Malcolm Park is one that only, there's no limit to with the user groups that we have. Some of the current conversations we're having is to move the skate park from Sioux High up there. We're talking about some pickleball courts or handball courts. We believe we can find some funding through the tribe for an improved walking path and maybe improve the pavilions. Maybe we can work with the bike path. Maybe there we get the pavilions for shade area and some water fountains installed. So we've just been beginning to meet as the 9 user groups. Project Playground is part of that. I don't know that who represents them, but we have found a representative to share their interests. So with the future, we hope that we can improve Malcolm Park. It's one of the biggest parks in the city. We've also done some comparison studies and realized that, Malcolm Park is, for the user hours, it's probably underfunded. It has about 65,000 user hours on it in a given summer. So we're just looking to get some funding and make improvements to Malcolm Park so it can be a vital part of this community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Collins.
So going back to Commissioner Twardy's comments, if the Malcolm Pride Committee recommended to make these changes and they actually went back to
Community Services Board.
Community Services Board, and the Community Services Board said no at that point, that they didn't want to do it, being that the money was actually already allocated and approved by the commission, would they at that point still have the ability to come to the commission, but then also state that the board didn't approve it?
Let me answer the question, I guess. The Community Services Board makes recommendations to the city manager. The city manager is the ultimate person that would bring it to the commission if he felt that was important enough. So the Community Services Board is still a recommending committee. It will always be that way in this city, type of thing, until it's changed by the charter. So even if they were to say no, the city manager has the ability to do that. Yeah.
One more.
Yeah, you're still on.
Oh, okay. So without an actual program manager for Malcolm Park, we actually use the Malcolm Park Pride Committee for the recommendations and what they're asking for, correct? So my point is that they know best as far as what to use the funds for based on what the needs are at Malcolm Park.
Makes sense?
Is that correct? I mean, am I correct in assuming that?
That they would know best?
That they would know best as far as
They're
what
certainly involved in that, in the Malcolm Park,
Okay.
you know.
So with that, I'd like to make a motion
Sure.
that we approve it.
Okay. Okay, it's moved, supported. Any additional comments? Certainly, on behalf of the commission, we appreciate the efforts of Malcolm Pride Group, much like the Sioux High Athletic Field with Project Pride. They went out and raised a tremendous amount of money, and that lasted for a very long time, and those folks are still involved in the community. Kevin Pomeroy was an initial member of that group, and did a great job with the athletic field at that time. It lasted many years, and now someone else has stepped up and made it better again. But certainly raising funds and making the summers in Sault Ste. Marie even busier than they have been. There's no question, I think, that the commission feels that all the parks are important, and if we can generate funds to benefit the community by efforts of people in the community, certainly I think the commission is more than willing to listen to that kind of stuff and move forward, and hopefully, making that happen and hopefully making it better. Commissioner Collins?
I just want to make the point that, so that the public knows that this money was actually already appropriated and approved in the budget, so it's not an
Yes.
additional allocation or additional funds.
True. Mhm. And I believe the project Malcolm Pride Committee raised somewhere around $12,000 that the city matched back earlier.
That was actually a separate project.
Yes.
That myself, Tony Nicole, and Greg Bramble did, where we came and you gave us real estate funds. It was a 5-year credit project to renovate those walls.
Kevin, can you come on up and, just so the people at home can, so this group Is this was this a takeoff of the
This,
group?
well,
or
this
just
is
you
a new
guys?
committee that has never been formed before. Project
Okay,
Park, Malcolm Park, is 9 user groups that have always worked. Basically, we talk and communicate, but we've never had a organization where we sit down and communicate and try and come up with a process so that we can earmark what's most important. And so we're going to go forward. We have, like we said, 9 members on the board now, and we are going to look at capital improvements and also hopefully a maintenance budget. I don't know if anybody's aware, but up there, basically everybody's responsible for maintaining their fields themselves. And what we're looking for in the future is just some material. We understand that we're going to still have to provide the labor to apply and continue to improve the facilities, but in the past years, we've had to raise money for maintenance first and then raise money for improvements. So we're looking to get help from the city going further forward so that we can maybe focus more on capital improvements and have help from the city with our maintenance.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Baker?
Yeah, and I just wanted to point something out regarding Commissioner Chorty's questions about the community service. And correct me if I'm wrong, Oliver, this was something that was brought to you and Dan months ago, and that the course of action as far as bringing it here into the community was your recommendation, correct?
City Manager?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Baker. It's my understanding, with Kevin here, he may improve my comments if necessary, but my understanding that the Malcolm Park Pride Committee initially approached Community Services Board in January with the discussion of a concept about establishing a maintenance budget ranging between $10,000 and $12,000, and also the addition of 2 part-time employees to assist during the summer. Subsequent to that meeting, it was brought to the City Commission during goal-setting session. The goal of establishing, supporting Malcolm Park was established, and through the budget process, administration created and established a $13,500 allocation for yellow fence topping. At the time, I think we viewed that as an item that was potentially subject to change internally, but subsequent to that, it's one of the first meetings I attended of the Malcolm Park Pride group was when it was really getting off the ground during the summer. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but.
Well, I guess my point was is that I don't think the Malcolm Pride committee wanted to overstep the Community Services Board by bringing this here, but that was your recommendation that it come here instead of going to them first.
Thank you for that clarification. One of the conversation points that Mr. Wires and I have had is that in general, and especially moving forward, it's important that, you know, initiative like this, which has a lot of enthusiasm and innovation with the Malcolm Park Pride Committee, that it be funneled through the Community Services Board. And I think that with this being the first year, that's being further refined. So in future years, it's my expectation or thought that that would occur. They would work in tandem with each other as groups and take their recommendations to Community Services Board, and then that would be occurring prior to the budget development. I think this particular request was a little unique in that it's the first year and it had been approved by the City Commission, so it really could have been 50-50 going to City Commission or Community Services Board from our perspective.
And just to clarify, Mayor, the other project was a separate entity from
Okay.
this.
Understand.
That project is completely closed. We actually came to the city the first time for $12,500, and we went and raised matching funds. And then after 3 years, we came and sought another $12,500, and we raised matching funds. And those funds went to Laux and to James Field that have been completely renovated over the 5-year period. And it's the first time that the city allowed somebody that had gotten seal money, and you took care of all the accounting, and it was it went really well. And with the help of Dan and his staff, it certainly was a very positive project.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yeah, just one more final, it's not even for you, Kevin, thank
Yep.
you for coming tonight. Just clarification for me. So, and why I asked this to come off of the consent agenda. Yes, I was the one that brought it to goal setting last year to help Malcolm Pride and to get the 2 part-time employees. And I was excited when the rest of the commission followed suit and we were able to get you a line item into the budget. The biggest thing that when I called Oliver last Friday about having this removed out of the consent agenda for conversation, it's just so that the newer commissioners can understand that we have a process, and the reason that we have a process is because it keeps us transparent.
Right.
And the transparency is what keeps us believable within the city. And if we're bypassing any of the mayoral appointed committees or commissions, then we're not following through with that open transparency of the city. And I didn't want to make any arguments. I didn't want to make any conversation other than I wanted everybody to understand that we usually have a process. And the city manager said it could have went 50-50 either way. And so all I wanted to do was just discuss it so that everybody here understands that there is a process and that's what we follow, because that's the legal right thing to do.
And unfortunately, last year, it was when I'd come before the city commission, it was, or actually Community Services Board,
Yeah.
it was after the budgetary process, and so this was a way that they had some funds set aside, and it was for specific, I believe, yellow rail.
Yeah.
And after talking, that just is not a priority up there. There's a number of things that need to be addressed.
And I understand that
yeah.
your committee would know more about what you need up there.
And right
but
now,
making
that's a
sure-
priority for us,
Yeah.
is to set a agenda, with recommendations and come through the Community Service
Yep.
Board and follow the proper procedures.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Collins.
So just for clarification, I definitely agree with the process and that we should follow the process. I guess I need clarification because it's my understanding, based on what the city manager just said, that the Malcolm City or the Malcolm Pride Committee didn't actually circumvent the process. It was actually brought to the commission by the city manager. Am I correct in that?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. This item is something that the Malcolm Park Pride Committee approached Mr. Wires with earlier in the season, and then this was initiated at the staff level. It was taken in front of Malcolm Park Pride Committee for their awareness and concurrence, and for further conversation about the allocation and future allocations as well.
But they didn't actually request to put it on the agenda, correct?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. So the city administration recognized that with a different request for funds that have been allocated for a specified purpose, any change in that purpose should come in front of the city commission for amendment.
I agree with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Baker. Then
Yeah.
we're moving on.
Yeah, I appreciate Kathy or Commissioner Torty filling us in on the process and stuff. But the way I look at it, Oliver was the one that brought it, and he had said, bring it to the Community Service Board first, they would have. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Like, I don't feel like anybody's stepping over or intentionally trying to do anything that,
I think that's apparent.
okay.
Okay. We appreciate everybody's efforts, for sure. We have a motion and support. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Mayor Bospas?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you.
Item 4, special orders of business. A, annual audit presentation for the year ending June 30, 2017.
Okay, thank you. City Manager Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Ken Talisman with Anderson Tackman is here tonight to present to the City Commission and community.
Evening, Ken.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here to discuss the 2017 audit. It's our first year back. We've worked with the city off and on for the last 20 years, and I gotta say this audit cycle was one of the smoothest we've had in a while. I think everything as far as the accounting and all the record keeping was brought together pretty nicely before we even started, and Say we usually ask for a lot of things at the outset, pour through a lot of documentation for the different transactions, and look at a lot of the contracts and grants and those things, and everything was given to us timely, and everybody was really good about answering our questions, and we asked the questions several different ways sometimes, and everything seemed to check out, and we appreciate everybody's hard work during the audit from the city level as well. The crux of the financial audit, which the city usually gets every year, is what the state requires, is a opinion on the financial statements, and there's 4 kinds. There's the adverse opinion, which is given in the instance that there's issues or there's contradiction in the evidence we get with the financial statements. There's a disclaimer when there isn't information or enough information, and then there's a modified, which mostly means everything's okay except for maybe one area is a little bit weaker than the rest. Like for instance, like the cash and receivables and debt could all check out, but maybe the capital asset records aren't up to the level they should be. And then the 4th is the unmodified opinion, or it used to be called the unqualified opinion, and that's what the city got for 2017. And they call that the best opinion possible, meaning as far as the accuracy of the financial records, everything checked out. We were able to get the evidence to support the numbers, as well as make sure that all the different accounting principles and government auditing standards and things were all followed, and all the rules with the state too are followed. And the procedures too with receiving money and dispersing money, payroll transactions and all those things matches up as the state of Michigan would like to see done. So overall, a pretty good audit. The next thing I'll get into is the graphs we brought along. See, these are always a little bit more helpful to show how the city fared for the year. And like most cities, one of the biggest areas you have is your balance sheet, and we're looking just at your assets right now. Capital assets make up most of the pie, 96%. And that includes infrastructure for the water and sewer systems and streets, as well as equipment, buildings, and all the things that allow the city to give services to the residents. Then some of the next areas are deferred outflows, which are like a deferred loss, which relate to the pension plan, which we'll talk about later. Then we have the different cash and equivalents and investments, and we have receivables, taxes receivable, the special assessments, which are levied to pay for the different street projects. And then due from governmental units, about 1.3 million, the different grants that are receivable for things like revenue sharing, major and local streets, the inventories, for the different things like stock and equipment fund, prepaid expenditures, which are usually things like insurance or service contracts paid in advance, and then capital assets that aren't depreciated like land, as well as stuff that's in process, like different construction projects. You have a fair amount of construction process every year with the streets as well as with the water and sewer systems. Usually, I think there's never been a year that you haven't had something in process. This year was a little bit lighter than most. I think you only had about 2.5 million capital expenditures in both the business and the government side of the city. So in a lot of years, it's been a lot more than that going on. So a little bit lighter. And two, I think we had no new debt issues this year either. So that was a little bit easier to deal with for 2017. Next, we have the different liabilities as well as the equities. We have starting on the left, we have a net investment capital assets. That's about 71%. We have restricted for the trust, which moving over to the right. Then we have accounts payable, about 508,000. Accrued liabilities, bonds, about 42 million. That's the different debts for the water sewer system as well as the streets, buildings. And then we have net pension liability, about 23 million. That's in orange. The net pension liability is a third year of that new liability, and it went down, I think, about 300,000 in MERS and about, I think, a couple 100,000 in the firemen's, and that's kind of a welcome sign. That's been a bit higher in the last couple of years, or the increases have been higher due to the pension companies trying to get a better handle on how that's calculated, as well as how the stock market's done. So that seems to have been a little bit better than most years. Next, we've got the revenues for all the government funds. We got taxes, which is the lion's share of the revenue for the city. doing a little bit better, about 7 million, about 7.1. The special assessment revenues, the licenses and permits, federal sources took a bit of a decrease. I think we had a bit more going on last year with the CDBG project. And then this year we only had some smaller street projects and I think some guarantees of the water and sewer debt. Then state sources also was a little bit lower because of the projects. We didn't have quite as much funding for infrastructure this year. Local sources was a little bit better, 635,000. Those are different revenues from other governments in the community. Charges for services was a little better. Rentals on the different buildings, interest, and then other revenues were kind of close to what they've been. Next is expenditures of all the government funds, showing what's legislative for the council, general government, public safety, public works, health and welfare, recreation and culture. Then the one thing that took quite a decrease was the capital outlay, and again relating to that is the federal grants and the state grants, which pay for a lot of improvements in infrastructure. So we didn't have quite as much going on this year. So as you can see with that, at least with those projects, when the funds aren't available, usually the expenditures are cut back to match. And then debt service was a little bit lower compared to last year, and then other expenditures landed about 510,000. Next we have the revenues of the water and sewer fund. You see most of those just had some slight increases, but for the most part they're kind of comparable to last year. Then moving on to the expenditures of the water and sewer fund, we had more spent in the area of personnel, supplies stayed about the same. Contracted services kind of had a movement this in comparison. The auditors last year categorized things like the cost allocation expenses as well as PILT payments to contractor services. We usually classify those as other expenditures. So if you look between the two bars, they're probably more comparable between years. And then with that, most of the other expenses also were pretty even between both years. Like a slight increase in repair and maintenance. Depreciation was pretty close, and as well as interest was too. The eighth graph is the fund balance of just the general fund. It's always one of the most important funds for any government, the general fund. We like to see the fund balance usually never dip below 10 to 15% of next year's budgeted expenditures and transfers out, just to kind of give you that hedge in case of unforeseen financial needs or anything. We have about a slight decrease, about $2.5 million last year, up to about almost 2.9 this year. So the trend seems to be moving in the right direction as well. We're keeping above that floor like we would like to see that's needed for future needs or rainy day funds. So your fund balance seems to be doing pretty healthy. The next graph is the different grants that the city gets. The biggest graph is or the portion is the U.S. Department of Protection Agency, which the water and sewer loan, the DWRF loan is federally backed, so that's got to be included in the single audit. Then the next we have about 2,000 from the Department of Agriculture, 14,000 from Department of Commerce, about $300 from Department of Justice, I think, for police vests, and then the U.S. Department of Transportation kicked in about 188,000. And you had about 855,000 in federal money this year. This graph shows the taxable value. I think always with most governments, the taxable value is one of the most important indicators of how healthy a government's doing. And this kind of breaks it into the four important groups of commercial, industrial, residential, agriculture, and utility. And we've seen some declines commercially, but in the other areas, 3 areas of industrial and agriculture and utility, there seems to be some slight increases in taxable value, so that's good to see that it's heading in that direction. A lot of communities in the state still are having problems with their taxable values, especially I think back since 2008 when things got really bad. Things have been we've just been seeing modest increases in the taxable value. Then this graph shows the revenue sharing trend. We had some slight increase in revenue sharing from last year. We were at about $1,492,000, and we're about $1,547,000. So fortunately, it's getting a little bit more each year. There's always the fear that they're trying to cut it back or decrease it. The state's also put most municipalities through a few hoops of making them try to earn their money. They have the new website where they've got to do all this reporting and all this information to be able to maximize the revenue sharing you get, and they have it in several categories. And the city's been doing that and getting as much as they can, so that's good. Any questions about the finances or the numbers so far?
Yeah, on,
Commissioner Collins. My mic wasn't on, sorry.
thank you. On the very first, I believe it's the very first pie chart, there's the, breaks down, sorry, I think it's the third page. Breaks down the restricted for trust and the unrestricted funds. Can you explain the difference between those?
Yeah, restricted means, so there's three categories of equity in governments now, and this is the consolidated statements, putting everything together and kind of giving you a overlook of the whole city's finances. So there's net investment in capital assets. That's the equity in all your capital assets, less debt outstanding on them. And then there's restricted, which anytime you have a millage or grant funds or anything that kind of creates money to be earmarked for a particular purpose, even if there's residual monies left at the end of the year and it closes into equity, that has to be set aside and kept intact for that particular purpose moving forward. Can't be used for general operations. So anytime we use restricted, that's why it's kind of for a specific thing. Then what's left in the final category is the unrestricted, which can be used free and clear for the operations of the city. And what's kind of been weird with the cities, well, most governments, it's the implementation of the new pension reporting requirement. It's been such a huge liability, it's shifted most of the unrestricteds negative, like you have in your case. When that came out, I think probably about 90% of most governments saw their unrestricted go from a fairly healthy positive number to one being negative because of that reporting.
Is that why this is negative?
Right.
So is that the MERS or the police and fire?
Both.
pension? Both.
Right. But I say with most governments, it's done that to probably say about 90% of them.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Commissioner, pardon? Are you done, Ken, or are you still?
Yeah, just questions. Yeah.
Any questions? I guess just when Commissioner Lynn was here, he would always ask for a grade.
Yes.
And we understand we're A+ rating by Standard & Poor's, which is great for the city.
Yeah, I think an A+ is in order this year. Like I said, everything was,
Oh, excellent.
as far as the accounting and reporting, everything was brought together really orderly. And I think, based on activity too, your revenues are kind of heading in the right directions. Not by a lot, but you're going in the right direction. Your expenditures are kind of, you live within your means and your budgets are followed. There's no overages. Say if you go over budget, we've got to report that and send that into the state, and they get upset if you overspend. So you didn't have any issues like that. No fund deficits that are going in the red. So everything looked pretty healthy, I think.
Well, thank you very much. Commissioner Gary?
I guess we better stop at A+.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we accept the annual audited financial statements report for the period ending June 30th, 2017.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any further questions? Thank you, Ken.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll only add too, if there's questions that come up later, because I know it's a lot to digest at one meeting, but if you think of something or have any issues with anything in here, don't be afraid to get a hold of us. And
Okay,
talk about
thank you.
it. Thanks.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Bosmas.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B under special orders of business is appointment of city commission liaisons to boards and committees.
Okay, thank you. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. As the City Commission and City Administration welcome Commissioner Miller, it would be appropriate for the City Commission to confirm the current list of City Commission liaisons and appointments to the various boards and committees of the City of Sault Ste. Marie. The most recent up-to-date listing of Commission liaison appointments has been provided for review by the City Commission and at this time, if desired by the Commission, the Commission could confirm the appointment of Commissioner Miller to serve as a liaison on one or more of the city's established boards and committees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And in discussion with Commissioner Miller, there are a couple that he would like to see if he could acquire from a couple of other commissioners. One would be the Dollar Ride program, which Commissioner Miller would like to sit as the liaison to that, and I believe that is Commissioner Collins. Would you like to give that up?
Not really, I kind of like that one.
You like that one?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and you've only got 3. The other one was the Historical Development Commission, of which Commissioner Baker, would you?
Yes, that's completely fine.
Okay, and let's, Historical Development Commission to start, and then let's look at, Commissioner Tuarty has 5. I don't know, oh yes,
2 of those,
say,
two of my 5 are inactive.
oh, they don't like the liaison board, and, okay,
Yeah.
so you really have 3.
I have 3.
Okay. Anyone else would like to give up Commissioner Collins?
You can have the Dial Ride if you really want it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else, or starting with 2 works really well.
It was explained to me today that I was gonna get whatever was given to me, I was gonna get, so.
Well, it's great that the 2 that you both preferred, thank the commission for that.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion? Yes, let's go with Commissioner Tuarty.
Yep, I'll make a motion that we note the change and we appoint Commissioner Miller to the Dial Ride Committee and the Historical Development Commission.
Support? Support. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, thank you.
Item 5, communications. A is from the Local Officers Compensation Commission, increase in pay for mayor and city commission.
Okay, thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Every odd number year, the Local Officers Compensation Commission meets to determine the salary of elected officials in Sault Ste. Marie. The decision of the commission stands unless by resolution adopted by 2/3 of the members of the City Commission, the commission rejects the recommended increase. The commission reviewed the information distributed to it by the City Clerk's Office to the members on the salary and wage book from the Michigan Municipal League, as well as comparable wage increases of 2% for both union and non-union employees during fiscal years 18 and 19. The last increase granted to the mayor and commission occurred in November of 2001. Please note the commission recommended an increase in 09, 13, and 2015, which were rejected by the city commissions at those times. The commission is recommending that the mayor and city commissioner salaries be increased by a rate of 2% for 2018 and 2% for 2019, effective December 5th, 2017. At this time, no action would be required to allow these increases to take effect, and by 2/3 vote of the city commission, the increases could be rejected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tuarty.
Thank you. Well, in my 4 years past, we've turned down these raises just because when we go to look at the budget at the end of the year, and I know that we don't go into community service expecting to make money off of that. So at that being said, I would like to make a motion to turn down the wage increase for 2018. Thank you, and 19.
It's been moved, supported. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Bosmas,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Gary.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. And we certainly thank the committee for their continued support. Thank you.
Item B under communications is from Commissioner Baker, discussion relating to the 2014 survey.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, I was speaking with Mr. Turner about goal setting and how surveys and how we can get feedback from the community, and he had mentioned one being done in 2014, which, if I remember correctly, we were going to get a copy of all that, correct? And then what I was thinking or wondering if there was any chance of us possibly putting something together, even if it's just on Facebook, nothing expensive, nothing that costs money, Survey Monkey of some sort with some So we can get some feedback from people now to see if anything has changed from that survey.
Commission, Commissioner Gary.
I don't, and maybe the city manager could refresh our memory, but I think the community survey that's done is done by professionals that are independent of the city. And I think it's done every 4 or 5, maybe 6 years, periodically anyway. And we do quite often refer back to that survey. And I think I would also recommend that in 2015, and I think just recently completed, we had a 2017 master recreation plan done. And inside of that, there was quite an extensive survey that was very similar to the 2014 survey when it came to all of our recreation. So I think that we do have a lot of information available, and we do have a lot of studies available. So I would recommend looking at some of those. I think if any individual commissioner wanted to do their own, reach out and see what people wanted them to do to introduce as goals, I think that would be appropriate. But given the time frame right now, and I think the effort and cost, I don't think we'd get any valuable information from it personally.
Commissioner Collins?
So how many surveys do we have then? We actually have 2, one in 2014 and one in 2015. The one's attached, right? This is the
City manager.
2014 one.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. The 2014 survey is included within the packet, and I also believe that there was a survey that was done within the 2007 range, which was previously presented to the City Commission during past goal-setting sessions, but was removed because the 2014 survey was more timely. As Commissioner Geary mentioned, there is a master recreational survey that was released as part of the revision of the master recreation plan, and the engineering department also released a survey within the past 12 to 16 months on waterfront redevelopment as well, in conjunction with Carbide Dock Alfred Park properties.
What would it cost to do a survey roughly?
Thank you for that question, Commissioner. I really think it would come down to the level of outreach that were to be done. For example, a SurveyMonkey type instrument would be less expensive than the 2014 survey, which was developed by regional planning and distributed on a more broad base, perhaps with mailed reminders as well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Baker?
Yeah, I was unaware, excuse me, unaware of that survey. So if we could get a copy of the one that was done in 2016 as well, and any other surveys as far as the engineering department, that would be very beneficial.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Item C under communications is from Denny Doherty. End of year report for Project Park activity for Voyager Island Park and Sioux Seal Recreation Area.
Okay. Dennis Doherty, come on up here, please. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Merry Christmas, and thank you, and welcome all new members. With 2018, we got about 4 new ones on here, huh? Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for your time for addressing our Voyager Island projects and also up at the Seal Recreation Area. And basically, I'm here to answer any questions you may have in the report we submitted, asking you for acceptance of all of our projects that we've worked on, so it takes us off the hook for liability and responsibility. And so that's kind of why I'm here. So if you have any questions, fire away.
Just a statement to start with, if anyone has, but you do just tremendous work in the community. Voyager Island and the cadre, we talk about this, I mean, every time you come before us, what you're able to do with your friends and people that will follow you to do projects, it's astounding in my mind, and you continue to be very active in our community, and we certainly thank you for that. Simple thank you doesn't do it, but you were the recipient last year of the award for the community mindedness that you've displayed over this 10, 15, 20-year period. We're certainly a better community because you're in it, and we thank you, Danny, you and your wife.
Thank you, and as I've
And all
said
the
before,
people that you have.
it's
I
a
know
team.
You don't like to praise yourself, but,
But it takes a lot, you know, and you can have a spark, but you really need the kindling, and that's the people out there that make it work. And so I appreciate that, but on behalf of everybody, so. And you guys have been great, and I just want to throw a thing in for the city too. The staff has been super. Here we come in with all these projects over the years, and they've been nothing but professional, and a big thank you to them too, so.
certainly.
So
Thanks
I guess that's it for me, unless you have questions.
No,
Good.
we will accept your projects, and we get a motion from Commissioner Talentino.
I so move that we formally accept the completed improvements.
It's been moved, supported. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuorty?
Yes.
Mayor Vaskus?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item number 6 is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Item A under the City Manager's report would provide authorization of an intergovernmental agreement with Chippewa County for the usage of prisoners, parolees, probationary, supervised community workers. And on this matter, I've requested that Parks and Recreation Director Wires present to the Commission.
Okay. On your way up, I guess I'll just real briefly tell us about, everybody's wondering and everybody's watching, so let's get the update on the tubing Sault Recreation Area before you get into that one, I'm sure.
Mayor and Commission, absolutely. Status report is we need more snow. And we are close. We've been doing a lot of good things, a lot of our fencing, a lot of things are in place. Our staff, we had orientation today in this room just before the commission meeting. On-hill training is on tomorrow night, so you'll see the lights on. The community will see the lights on tomorrow night, but we're not open. We've been getting calls all over the United States. One was from Biloxi, Missouri, from someone
No
who
kidding.
wanted
Coming
to
up
know if
here.
we were going to be open, and I said, we're working on it, and we want to get open as soon as we can. We're looking at a potential snowstorm coming in late this week, into this weekend. We probably need 6 to 10 inches of good snow, heavy wet snow that comes down and we can keep. So we're going to open as soon as possible. I'm predicting potentially maybe the day after Christmas, but we'll see. Don't know that.
Thanks, Santa.
We're hoping. So if Santa is around,
growing
we'll
that
get some
beard,
snow. You know, and what we will do is for the folks at home, we will be putting a press release out to all the different media, the news media, the paper media, and we'll get that out. So I mean, I don't really want to predict the day, but it's going to be as soon as possible. But we're ready. It's about we need more snow.
Great. Okay, no, thank you.
On this item, I know as the commissioners have had a chance to see the report back in 2011, we prior to that we had lost the state Michigan Department of Corrections prison crew program, and we lost 2 state prison crews. So one of the things that we did is we reached out to the sheriff, Sheriff Savoy, and in 2011 we put together this program where we can have some local parolees, probationers, and even some of the folks that are in the jail get out and get some community service work done. So that has worked out well. Although we do not wish crime in our community, but some of these folks that do get assigned, we do try to keep them very busy. Some of the items that they do are, they work at the Sault Seal every day, 5 days a week. They do not, when we're open for the public, they're not there. They work at Keene's Rink. They shovel the Easter Day Hill steps, which I believe they're doing today. They work any outdoor ice rink, grass cutting, line trimming. We do painting. They work out in front of City Hall grounds. And I could go on, brushing, weeding, Carbide Valley Camp docks. So they're very busy at what they do. This agreement is was started back in 2011 when it was signed, and now it's at the point of needing to be renewed. Now, this current agreement we have is through June 30 of 2018. So we're out in front of this. And the sheriff, the administration and the sheriff's department met, and we certainly went through this, and modestly, the sheriff is looking to continue the program, but also the program, instead of $14 per hour for supervision, it went up to 16, and that would be for a 5-year period. So in the 5 years, in essence, we were at $14 an hour. It didn't move. So we're trying to keep, and the sheriff is trying to keep the cost down as well. It's something that we've been budgeting for every year. Certainly, we've had as low as 1 inmate and as up to 6 to 8 parolees and people that do come into the program. It's very important to what we do. It does do a lot of work behind the scenes. I certainly would support it, and I think it's money well spent, and it helps integrate these folks back into the community as well. And it's a program that I would hope that the commission can recommend.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Baker.
Make a motion that the city commission authorize city administration to enter in the intergovernmental agreement with Chippewa County beginning on July 1st, 2018 as presented.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. Are there any questions? Thank you, Dan.
Welcome.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Twardy?
Yes.
Mayor Baspas?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Collins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gary?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Item B under City Manager's Report is a response to request for information regarding the Puller and Malcolm Fields. On this matter, I've requested that Finance Director Collins present to the City Commission.
Okay. Evening, Kristen.
Good evening. I had worked with Dan Wires and Oliver Turner to review these questions, and I hope that you've received the response that you were looking for. When you all discussed it last week, there were some questions as to whether we had the information, and I would like to just take a moment to clarify what we have and what we've estimated, so that there are no confusion as to what is accurate information and what is just a rough ballpark. So most of the information for the Puller revenue is very accurate. We've kept that department separate for many, many years, my entire time here at the city, and long before that. However, some of the information that was requested was information that the city does not have because we have a concession and an agreement for operations with Sioux Eagles. So some of the items, such as the ticket sales income, the concessions net income, alcohol sales, beverage sales, and the costs for the liquor license are things that we do not keep here, although those items have been requested of Sioux Eagles, and they said they would get back to us as soon as possible. Moving on, we have several questions regarding Puller Stadium expenses, and some of that is a rough estimate. For example, ice laying costs. We don't identify what activities each staff member is doing at what time, but Assistant DPW Director Wires did advise us that between the dates of, I believe it was mid-August through Labor Day, is when the ice is usually laid. So any kind of wages and overtime during that time period are going toward ice laying. And then it used to be that we would pay somebody to come to the Eagles events or the open skate, and occasionally staff. And especially the open skate, we decided quite a few years ago that the revenue being brought in was not sufficient to cover the wages. So the open skate has shifted from a fee-based to an optional donation request, and there are donation boxes at the Puller. There was one other point I wanted to make regarding the Puller, and we did get a breakdown of insurance cost, and we have utilities, but it was also what kind of money has been donated to the Puller. And we had a huge renovation project that you're all probably very familiar with, and it brought in quite a bit of funds for the Puller. And so that was identified. Let me just see. revenues, okay, it's item number 5. The Matheson estate had gifted the city $264,500 roughly to be used to upgrade the restrooms and locker rooms at the Puller. And then with that initial donation, the Puller Renovation Committee, fundraising committee was formed. And with that, including the Matheson funds, brought in a total of $407,500 over a period of years. And there is an additional $56,500 that has been pledged and not brought in yet, but has been committed over the next few years. We also had money come in from the Sioux tribe, and there was improvements done to the Manny Boucher room upstairs at the Puller, which is available to the public. And that Manny Boucher room improvements came in at a total of $32,634. So those were revenues, grants, donations that were brought in. And I wasn't sure if you would classify the Sioux Tribe's money as a grant or not. That's questionable, but that's what it is. And then there were also other revenues, and we do have advertising money brought in for the backer boards and the ice rental and any kind of attendance fees, advertising. It's an average of $160,200 over the past 4 years. That's the average. So I think we were pretty thorough in our pricing and our data for the Puller. Unfortunately, for the parks, we combine all the parks. So we're talking every the ball fields, but also Sherman Park, Rotary Park. The some of the costs for the boat launches, it depends what it is. But to identify more specifically for you, we have parks maintenance employees. For full-time employees, we have 5 people that are split 50-50 between the Puller and Parks Recreation. Let me make sure I'm getting this right, because I'm looking for where I said that. Am I right? Okay. Dan gives me the nod. We split those people 50-50, and it's just a rough estimate of how much time they spend at the Puller versus how much time they spend mowing and maintaining the parks. So of those parks, we talked about it internally. How much time do you think the average guy might spend at the ball fields as compared to the rest of the parks? And so I think it was around 25% that we said, very rough. We'd have to really do a lot more record keeping in the upcoming years if the commissions opted to have an identified department for the ball fields. At that time, we would look at having better allocation of resources to exactly how much it's costing. But at this time, we just had a rough estimate. We also estimated the cost of utilities and supplies, and roughly 25% in those areas as well. Although electricity and water were easier to estimate because we actually did have utility accounts. So Assistant Accountant Susan Anderson went through all the electricity bills over the past 1 year, and not going back 6. But over the past 1 year, we gave you some amounts, and then we took that as a percentage of the total Parks and Recreation. So I feel that's reasonable. Hopefully that's close enough for you. I mean, we could have spent more time and actually gone through utility bills for 6 years, but we felt that maybe this would be satisfactory. Same with the water account. We have, I was surprised how many accounts, 14 accounts at the ball fields. So we use a lot of water. Apparently, 4 of them are metered, I'm sure, for the restrooms, but then we have the flat rate for the watering. So I feel like we've answered the questions. If there are any questions of the accuracy of our records, or if there's any question of explanation of how we used estimation in these, feel free to ask.
City Manager, have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just appreciate the thoroughness with which the Finance Department, as well as Parks and Recreation, operated in compiling this information, and certainly appreciate those efforts. And if the Commission desires any further information, would certainly be willing to respond to those requests for information.
Commissioner Baker.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks.
You're very
Appreciate it.
welcome. No problem.
Okay. Anyone else? I'd like to accept the report. Commissioner Baker, would you like to make a motion to accept that report?
Make a motion to accept the reports on Malcolm Field and the Polar.
Support. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks.
Item C, under City Manager's Report. Again, welcome Finance Director Collins for the prior year capital projects budget carryovers and returns. This is a routine item, but would request that she explain the process and current status.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Each year around this time, we've finished with the audit, so we're certain on the cost of last fiscal year, every project, everything that was charged to that project. But as you know, capital projects often go over 1 year span. So we want to be sure of the costs that are to date on any given project so that we can carry forward the residual budget into the current fiscal year. And that's all we're doing here in the most briefest sense. However, there's always a project or two, or 25, where we have spent under the budget allocation, or for whatever reason the project maybe is no longer of the same scope, importance to the commission, or to the people the user groups that are out there. So with that, I present annually a list of projects being returned so that the commission is aware that these projects once had a commission authorized budget to do them, but here we are sending the money back, and where the money goes is the original funding source. So in some cases you might see a negative and a positive. That's if the grant was underspent. If there's actual city funds from our coffers and whatever reserve funds that we were using to do the project, then it is returned to that fund. And so it may seem a little cumbersome to go through. It's a long 14 or however many page attachment. Don't worry, there won't be a quiz. But that's there for if anybody, there have been questions, and I pull it up a few times a year just to double check something. So are there any questions on the projects returned? Or are there any questions on the projects that still remain active?
City Manager, do you have anything?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Kristen.
you. Thanks.
Commissioner Gary?
I make a motion to approve the return of capital project funds to the source fund for the projects that have been completed under budget and are no longer necessary, as detailed in the presented summaries.
Support.
And the total amount would be returned to various capital reserves is $221,875. Okay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bospas.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Commissioner Gary.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino.
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
And if it pleases the Mayor and Commission, prior to concluding the City Manager's report, just wanted to issue a reminder regarding the Light Up the Sioux occurring at the Tower of History. Started on the 15th of December and runs through the 31st. The tower will be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, with hours running between 5 and 9 p.m. The prices are $4 for adults, $2 for children, and those being defined as 16 to 18-year-olds, $10 for families, and children 5 and under being free. Just a reminder that all small children must be with an adult, and we welcome everybody to come to 210 feet high in the air for the Light Up the Sioux event.
Yes, and the postcard shows the great view that you do get. And those were, was that the Convention and Visitors Bureau that put those together? Was it DDA part of that? Sioux events? Okay, excellent. Thank you. You got 7 days counting tonight. Okay, anything else?
That concludes the City Manager's report. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
Okay, thank you. Item number 7, the status report.
Thank you, Mayor. Item A under status reports is an update on the upcoming fiscal year budget preparation schedule. Included within the packet for the commission and the community is an outline of the proposed schedule for the preparation of the budget for the fiscal year that will begin July 1st, 2018. Several key dates for the City Commission in the process include Monday, February 12th, which is set up as the annual goal-setting session. Monday, April 16th, when the annual budget will be submitted to the City Commission by the City Manager, and budget work sessions scheduled for Tuesday, April 17th, as well as Wednesday, April 18th, and Thursday, the 19th, if the latter two dates are needed. A special meeting to reconcile the budget has also been tentatively scheduled for Monday, April 23rd. A report on the budget and the setting of necessary public hearings would subsequently occur on Monday, May 7th, with the date of May 21st being established for the approval of the budget. Please note that this would be the third year in which City Administration will be preparing a two-year budget for consideration by the City Commission. The period of time covered by the budget would extend through June 30, 2020. As was the case last year, the first year of the two-year budget would receive formal approval through the process, and the second year could be conceptually approved. It should further be noted that as currently expected, the revised six-year capital improvement plan will be presented to the City Commission during the month of January. The projects included with the initial years of this plan would form the basis for those projects that may be included in the two-year budget to be presented to the City Commission. Finally, it should be noted that Mayor Bospis has invited former City Commissioner Munsell to join the City Commission and administration during the goal-setting process and facilitate the review of the budget at any work sessions. We appreciate Mr. Munsell's continued willingness to serve in this capacity. Thank you.
Okay, and just to add, I think we should add, in discussion with the city manager today, we did talk, because we have 4 new commissioners, that there will most likely be a special city commission meeting, and I was noticing in January of 2018, we have 5 Mondays, so that it'll probably be one of the off Mondays that it'll be during the day, and we'll get that out to the commission as soon as possible, so you can kind of set that aside, and city will provide lunch, and we will talk about part of the goal setting, and hopefully the department head reports to familiarize the new commissioners especially, but also any of the commissioners. It'll be a special meeting, so open to the public. It'll be posted and give you some time to get more information about what we do as a city, and certainly we all can hear that and learn from that. So just something we've been talking about. So as soon as you get the date, we'll let you know. But it looks like the Mondays work the best for folks, especially the off Mondays. And so it won't be a first or a third, but it would be one of the other 5 of the 5. So, okay. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Item B under status report is an update from Sioux Events on activities and events. And
Okay.
Linda Hoth is here with us tonight.
Welcome, Linda.
Well, hey, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. It's really nice to be here. It's funny that I'd be doing Sioux Events. And I used to do it all the time. It's like we've kind of passed it on. But she's off enjoying a vacation, so. You already said about the Light Up the Sioux. If you take a look to, Jim Lee Hockey put a video on I Love the Sioux of pictures he went around and took of the different houses that were all lit up too. So just a little sample of what we can see within the Sioux. So enjoy it. Go up and enjoy it, because it is beautiful up there at night. We don't get that in the summertime because it's so bright late. I also want to remind you of New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, we're going to, at 11:45, we're going to be down there. We're going to drop our very first ball in 350 years. First ball in 350 years, not bad. I really wanted a hockey puck, but I didn't get it. But hey, one of these years we'll get a puck. So yeah, but I wanted to remind you of that. I also want to remind you that in January we have the Downtown Ice Festival. Okay, that's going to happen. It's already a go. We're starting to get, people are starting to send in their pledges for the different ices. So
I would think the commission will have at least 1, probably 2 blocks of ice. Like we
I
did
thank
last
you for
year.
that. Yes, and the Sioux Convention and Visitors Bureau is actually going to be doing the competition. So, but I want to let you know, and I also wanted to let you know that the Guinness, the record that we want to break. I did a report today from our, because we're taking the reservations online at the CVB. So I want to let you know that we already have 158 people, and a lot of them are from downstate. They're not from here. So, hey, come on, guys.
Commissioner Tuarte?
Yeah, thank you. I have a question about that. Somebody just recently asked me, why are you asking for people to have a valid driver's license?
Guinness says we have to. That's part of the
Okay.
rules from them.
Okay, all right.
They say we have to have a valid. We're going by all their rules, or else they take us and throw us out the door.
Okay.
Commissioner Collins?
So does it have to be their driver's license?
Well, it doesn't say that. It says a driver's license. So, but I'm really, really looking forward. I mean, we've got a lot happening in the next month. You know, with the 50th anniversary of the I-500, everything happening. And so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us.
Commissioner Collins?
So I've talked to a lot of local people, and they haven't actually gone out and registered on the site. So are we just doing that so we have an idea as far as how many people are actually going to be here at that time?
Yes, it's a $5 fee because we've had to pay for Guinness to come here. Not to come here. That'd be $10,000. We wouldn't have enough, but that's enough. We covered the cost for Guinness to get them, to cover our cost.
So make sure they go out and register.
Yes, online, or you can give our office a call,
Okay. And what's your number at the office?
906-632-3366.
Great. Commissioner Baker?
Will they be able to register the day of, that day?
Yes.
Okay.
Registration is early too. I mean, they're going to be open from 9 to before the parade starts. So they're going to have registration happening. Yeah, it's going to be a big day. It's going to be fun. I love it when fun things happen. I got the dream job, you guys. I'm living the dream.
And you talked about the ball drop, and I see Les Townsend here, and it's going to be on the side of his building on the corner of Ashman and Portage.
Yes, it is, and we've already got the big flyers, and Justin put them in the windows there so you can see them. He's telling you right there is where the ball drop is.
Certainly thank Les and Kelly for
Oh,
the use
yes.
of the building.
Yeah. One of these years it'll be a puck though, Wes. I mean, we are the original Hockey Town, USA. So,
Thank you.
anything else?
Thank you for the update. Come
Yeah.
before us all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item number, that concludes?
It does conclude the status report section. Thank you, Mayor and Commission.
Okay, thank you. Item number 8, matters presented by the public. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to make a comment at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to item number 9, matters presented by the City Commission. And certainly, I can do this before the rest of the commission. This is the last meeting before Santa ends up in Sault Ste. Marie. So on behalf of the City Commission, certainly the administration and our citizens, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a good and healthy 2018, and certainly prosperous at the same time. It's a great place to be in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and certainly looking forward to our 350th anniversary, and the committee that has worked diligently over the last 2 years to put the activities together. We certainly appreciate it, and looking forward to that great times in the city of Sault Ste. Marie going forward. Commissioner Tuarte.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Justin Nepper and Lindsay Ellis and the rest of the DDA board for last Friday night's event downtown where we had all the stores stay open late. Also, thank you to Linda Hoth and her daughter Trish, who dressed up like Mrs. Claus and one of her elves, and of course for Ken and Wilda Hopper for donating their son, who did a great Grinch. And there was just so much activity going on downtown. It was great to see the horse and carriages. And I think most of the businesses participated, and that's how we make events continue to get better year after year after year, is if you actually participate. And we stayed there right until 8 o'clock. We might have been sharing beverages with other people who were coming into our store, but we did stay there, and it was a great time, and we actually did have customers till close to 7:30. So I just wanted to say thanks to Justin for that, and also Linda.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Baker.
I just wanted to share my sympathy for the Sioux Theater in our community. Lost a one-of-a-kind gentleman. Bear with me while I try to get through this. Taylor Brugman passed away this last Monday. I found out about it on Tuesday. I had the pleasure of working with him the last couple years at the theater. really learning a lot from him. He did all the sound, lighting, stage props. He really is the heart and soul of the Sioux Theater. So tremendous loss there, and just want to send my condolences out to Liz and his wife and the Sioux Theater family. He will be missed and irreplaceable, that man. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Gary?
I would make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
It's been moved, supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.